Allow me to introduce you to Doomer. It started as just a regular meme in 2018 on mostly places like 4chan, and then slowly picked up popularity. It was a guy wearing a black beanie and a black shirt in a dark room smoking a cigarette, completely checked out from the world. But it wasn't really about the meme, but really about the feeling behind it. You see, Doomer didn't represent some sort of dramatic Hollywood end of the world type thing. It was something much more relatable, something much closer to home. It's that quiet, heavy mental burnout that so many young Americans are feeling nowadays. That you're just watching life happen instead of actually in it building something. See, Doomer represents being tired, exhaustion, something that we all feel. And with bad news being on every corner of every website, whether we turn on the TV or pull up an app, you can see why we'd start to feel this way.
That troubling news about inflation, wholesale prices seeing their highest annual increase in more than 3 years.
Meaning the barrage of roughly 24 missiles fired toward Israel.
Now, there's a new study finding that more than 75% of homes across the U.S. are unaffordable.
It's like everywhere you turn, it's just constant negative stimuli. Inflation is eating your paycheck. Politics feel fundamentally broken. Home prices continue to skyrocket where we can't afford them. And with all of this in your face, nonstop, all the time, you just get tired of it all. So what you do is you pull out your phone, you lay in bed, doom scroll for a little bit, maybe watch a couple funny videos, and then go to sleep and start it over the next day. And I would argue that the main reason for people feeling this way, it's actually not the news or social media, though those are contributing factors, but actually it's money. Now it is harder than it has been in the last 15, 20, 30 years to adult than it has been in the past. In short, the problem is that our dollar just doesn't go as far as it used to. Just to give you some quick numbers here, for our parents, 1970s, 1980s, home prices were typically 2 to 3 times the median household salary. You fast forward now, home prices are about 5 to 7 times the median household salary. And I emphasize household because in the 1970s, 1980s, most of the time it was just one income earner. Now, most households are 2 income earners. But if we strip that, just to give a one-for-one comparison, a regular worker in 1980 just had to be in the top 35% of earners, and he could support a family and a home. To do the exact same thing now as you had to do in 1980, you have to be in the top 12% of income earners. A lot of people will be like, oh, the younger generations, they just don't want to work. They're so lazy. They just want to have everything handed to them on a silver platter. But the fundamental truth is that it is harder to accomplish the same thing as our parents did in today's age. And this same economic pressure, it drips into all aspects of every part of our life. And this is why dating is even as hard. As guys, a lot of the value that they bring to relationships is their ability to provide. This is the traditional sense of every man. And people wonder why male loneliness has 5x'd since 1990. We're talking about 36 years. It's because when the same opportunities aren't present like they were back then, the dating market and everything just becomes tougher. Now, a lot of ways that we used to combat this in the past to really get ahead was going to college. But now the return on investment, or ROI, for college is also not that good, as it costs twice as much, really closer to 3 times as much since 1990, and that is adjusting for inflation. And you're not even guaranteed to get the same job anymore, as the underemployment rate, meaning you're employed, you're making money, but you're not making as much, or you're only working part-time for what you got your degree for, is at 41%. So I really just want to drive this home that times have changed. The baseline has changed. And it's not about who's lazy and we just are eating our avocado toast and that's why we can never get ahead. It is just more economically challenging. And that is just a fact. You see, the reason I'm making this video, though, is I want to offer just a little bit of hope. Unlike Doomer over there, I think the attitude of, I'll never get ahead, so I might as well just spend my money how I want, lay on my bed and scroll because things are 3 times as harder as they used to be, is probably not the best attitude to have. So I want to walk you through an illustration. My favorite sport, the game of tennis. If you go back to its origins in medieval France, it didn't even use rackets. It was called jeu du paume, the game of the palm. Players literally smacked the ball with their hand to get it across the net. Now, while this started in the 12th century, people started to realize, hey, this kind of hurts my hand after I keep playing for a while. The game then started evolving into where they began to use leather gloves. After leather gloves, they started using paddles, and the game evolved over time until around the 16th century when they landed on what we had for a good amount of time, wooden strung rackets. By the 1980s, tennis was played with wooden rackets that had small heads and tiny sweet spots, making power and heavy topspin much harder to generate consistently. As a result, players relied on flatter, more precise strokes and used their serves to set up quick points rather than engaging in long baseline rallies. This made serve and volley tennis the dominant strategy, with players rushing to the net after the serve to finish points before the opponents could take control. And then came the introduction of what we use today, graphite rackets. In the 1990s, this changed everything. With larger racket heads and lighter, stiffer frames made it much easier to generate power and heavy topspin, allowing players to hit aggressive shots while still keeping the ball in court. Nowadays, what you'll see is for most professional play is longer ground stroke rallies. It's about control, power, and precision because the technology of the rackets has allowed them to do so. Now you're probably thinking, okay, why are you giving me all this lesson in tennis history? The point is that the game has changed over time and has become significantly harder. If you took the best player from the world in 1980, which was arguably either John McEnroe or Bjorn Borg, and dropped them into today's tennis, they would get absolutely smoked. There would be no chance of them winning. And the short answer is because we're better now than we were back then. The game has changed. It's become much more competitive. Is this starting to sound familiar? But you see, as the game got harder, the technology also got better. In the same way, we have so many more technological advances than people in the 1980s did, with the biggest one notably being the internet. The fact is that you can wake up at 2 in the morning and wonder why electric eels don't electrocute themselves when swimming and trying to catch their prey. You can look up and learn about anything that you want at any time, and it's just there and accessible and free. And I know this might sound silly and like duh, but the richest person in the world in 1980 did not have the same access to information that me and you have, being the regular everyday Joe. Anything that you want to learn about, any skill that you want to develop or improve, you can just look things up. You can buy books online and read books online. Anything that you could want, it is there if you just look hard enough. So the whole point of the video, it's not to say, yeah, just use the internet, you'll come out ahead. It's not that. Point is this, if you're playing in 2026 with a wooden racket when you go out to play tennis, you are going to lose. And if you try to get economically ahead with the same strategy that somebody would run in 1980, you're likely going to fall behind. The internet is not the solution, but it's an advantage that we can really pour into. That's something that people back in the day did not have. So to doomers out there, I just want to hit you with one last piece of encouragement. If you could sum this video up in one sentence, it would be, stop using your screen to watch the world burn and start using your screen to build your world. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.